Hey, welcome everyone to another episode of Fortinet Live. I'm Rick Peters, the CISO for Operational Technology for North America, and I'm joined today with Joe Robertson, my colleague from Europe and CISO in that AOR. Welcome, Joe.
Hey, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be with you here today, Rick.
It's always a treat, Joe, to share conversation with you. We're both passionate about operational technology and all the energy we're pouring into raising the bar, not just here in North America, of course, but globally. We share that responsibility, that charge of bringing better, secure, reliable services to our citizens around the globe. So it's an exciting topic. And what's interesting is Fortinet has just produced our 2021 State of Operational Technology and Cybersecurity report that's fresh and ready. And so we're going to dive into that topic a little bit today and get some themes and a sense of what's really bubbling up, what's important to executives that are responsible and charged to lead operational technology and securing all the verticals, right? From manufacturing to energy and utilities to transportation. There's a lot of responsibility out there. And clearly, OT organizations continue to experience intrusions. Our report clearly illustrates that, seeing large growth and in fact sustained kind of breach rates. You want to comment at all on that before we go any deeper?
Yeah, I think it's really significant that the attackers, the bad guys, have cottoned on to the fact that OT is out there and it is critical. It's crucial to companies, and they realize that they can really make money on ransomware for being able to shut down the company's production lines, because that's the heart of their business. And so it's not surprising that there's more and more attacks in that OT environment, which just raises the question of how do you protect it? How do you protect it better?
Yeah, I think certainly and arguably that there's heightened sensitivity out there today. Supply chain security is probably top of mind, whether or not you were a collateral target in some of the recent incidents. Of course, we had a pipeline incident here with was ransomware driven. But before that, what really got headlines was a solar burst incident that
solar winds. Yep.
Solar winds, that really drove this notion of what could be accomplished with a supply chain attack that had a broad range of collateral targets. And well, arguably, it's not always an OT focus. The fact that IT and OT are connected today, right? Certainly,
that's a key.
Attention.
Yeah, that's a key piece of it, because it turns out that although OT is more and more targeted, almost all of the attacks on OT are coming from the IT side originally, and they're getting through into that OT network, because OT networks are not air-gapped anymore. Even OT networks that people think are air-gapped, there's usually some connection that no one's noticed.
Oh, that's exactly right. In fact, I think it's impossible to think about being omnipresent, but that's the good news is, right, is we're taking strides. We're working towards raising that bar, helping the OT system owners. And I know we've seen a cultural change in that regard, right? Because what it means to protect and who's charged with protecting is certainly starting to take a different shape. You want to provide any insight from the European perspective?
Yeah, over here in Europe, actually, let me go back and say that in the document, in our report, it shows that more and more, almost in all cases in the report, the CISO is taking over responsibility. CISO, or the security organization of some ilk, is taking over responsibility for security in OT. And that's great news. It's very important. What I'm seeing in Europe is I'm seeing that sort of action. It may be a little bit behind North America, or if not behind, at least what I'm seeing is that those two organizations, operations and security, IT, are just starting to come together in a lot of companies. Large companies, they've got it all sussed out. They've worked it out. But middle-sized companies, and there's a lot of those here in Europe, middle-sized manufacturers, they are still trying to figure out, how do I deal with the other side? IT people trying to understand what is important for operations people who obviously have tremendous pressure to keep keep production going, not shutting things down, being able to express that to the IT people so that they can understand you can't just do anything willy-nilly in my environment without having a lot of backup plans and planning put in place.
You know, that's interesting. You and I, we engage enough customers to kind of get a good sense of what's top of mind. And I think the term resiliency is spoken of to a great degree, but then it's kind of defining behind the lines. The latest report they're producing kind of characterizes the discriminators of the top tier organizations, right? The fact that they have centralized visibility at their SOC, the fact that they're relying on orchestration and automation, really taking the next steps. And I think one of the other challenges, and arguably, was the readiness, post the pandemic. Go back 5 or 6 quarters to the onset of what we saw as rapid innovation, right? With the need to accommodate working from home. Certainly OT didn't get a free pass there. I know I saw that challenge here and the need to be able to figure out how to be prescriptive, but not too prescriptive, because every single customer has different challenges. You want to comment on that, Joe?
Yeah, well, what we've seen is that there is already a move towards the integration of OT and IT, but with the pandemic, that was accelerated tremendously because there wasn't an option. If you look at the remote access aspect of it, it wasn't just people having to work from home. It was the fact that for doing maintenance on machinery, the original equipment manufacturers couldn't even send technicians on site to be doing that anymore. And so they had to find ways of getting in remotely. And of course, if you're letting good guys in remotely, you have to worry about, are the bad guys getting in the same manner?
There's a lot of terms thrown about today, and I think it's all about addressing not just resilience, but the best practices. What are those things that we can help our consumers or our customers or executive leaders think about carefully as they take those next steps in their cybersecurity journey? I know I get fascinated and geeky. We've talked about this a lot. Fortinet's approach with an ecosystem, I think, is ideal. We don't just build on our own line of products, but we have a very robust technology alliance program, which allows us to manifest and reuse technology, which of course is very exciting for customers because they don't want to rip and replace everything they have out there. But I think that it goes beyond that, right? It starts to talk about things that are a part of the entire ecosystem and things that are attractive feature-wise. You start talking about zero trust access, and we can start to define that and think about options, right? From the use of multi-factor authentication and role-based access to techniques even as important as segmentation. I know you see that in Europe for sure. Are you seeing anything exclusively happening in that layer we'll characterize as control approaches with segmentation?
Well, the big thing that I'm seeing is that most companies have figured out that they've got to have a separation between the IT and the OT. Well, they put in place a DMZ in Purdue model terms, layer 3.5. Okay, and that they pretty much they've understood that. What they haven't yet been doing a lot of is going that one step further, going down in the layers and starting to microsegment, because what you want to do is you want to separate all of the machines, the PLCs, all of the pieces as much as possible, so that if one device does get attacked or has problems, then it doesn't allow the attacker to move laterally. So a compromised device doesn't become a compromised factory floor or a compromised complete environment.
Oh, that's exactly right. That the idea of containment is critical. The other thing I think that's very exciting in 2021, and I think we're going to see a whole lot more emphasis as we move beyond today and even post-pandemic, is this idea of behavioral analytics being a part of the equation, understanding what's going on within my OT environment. This is below the DMZ, right? Those very layers we just talked about segmenting. Understanding behavior and being able to characterize anything that looks like an anomaly. Maybe it's an attack, maybe it's not, but we need to be very tuned into what's going on. And that really now involves leveraging intelligence, actionable intelligence that has an industrial flavor, right? From all of the signature kind of base things that we know we can do, to taking it to a learning function and then being able to provide prescriptive language out. I know we have a FortiNet that's amazing. They're doing a tremendous amount of work there. Any thoughts you'd like to share in that regard?
There's a whole bunch of, unpacking that is a whole FortinetLIVE in itself, if you get down to it. But in fact, some of the things that I think that come to mind when you're talking about that are the fact that, first off, you need visibility. You need to know what you've got before you can try to manage it. So putting visibility, understanding which of your devices are connected in that OT environment is really important. And often when you do that, companies that I talk to are amazed at how many devices are actually connected in those OT environments. Sometimes now wirelessly, and we're going to see that more and more with 5G, more and more devices that are connected. And suddenly, instead of having these devices that are below the line in that DMZ, suddenly they're not only below the line, but they're also connected to the internet externally. So getting that visibility is really important. Understanding, have you already been breached or not? Some of the tools that you can use are things like deception technology, where, for example, we've got FortiDeceptor, and you can put in decoys and use a honeypot, attract attackers into this honeypot so that they think they're in a Rockwell, a Siemens environment, something like that, and be able to know that you're under attack, be quarantined. Now, all of that becomes information that is part of your intelligence and your intelligence operation. FortiGuard Labs then also is seeing, well, they're seeing 100 million events around the world every single day. And so they're seeing what's happening in the broader scope, and they are updating all of our devices sometimes as often as every 5 minutes, depending on what we're talking about. That includes a big component of operational technology threats and attacks.
I think it's really redefined what we mean when we talk about cyber resilience for operational technology. Gosh, you and I could talk for hours, Joe, on this, and it's always terrific sharing ideas. The road ahead, I think, is exciting for OT system owners. I think there's a lot of promise. I think that we're seeing changes that allow us to be transparent, scalable, and fast. And we know all of those elements, as you just spoke to, are part and parcel of how you're going to protect the OT leader, not just in 2021, but in the next decade, because they're looking for a long-term, foolproof way that they can trust. And we're building that trust, or manifesting a solution space that I think is going to build the layers of protection for operational technology that will endure. And I think that's the bottom line. Joe, it's always great chatting with you. Enjoyed this FortinetLIVE session with you. Look forward to our next conversation.
Me too. I think it'll be fun.
To everyone out there, thank you for watching this version of FortinetLIVE. Look forward to talking again in the future.
So long, everyone.